and love ballads on Friday.
You're like a dream come true. Just wanna be with you.
The beautiful sound of music only on. We know that all music is beautiful, and that's why NTV brings you the catalogue. Every day at 2:15 p.m. with the classics on Monday, reggae on Tuesday, country on Wednesday, Africa on Thursday, and love ballads on Friday.
You're like a dream come true. Just wanna be with you.
The beautiful sound of music only on NTV, your official music station.
This is NTV.
For 20 years, Kevin O'Connor worked with the British Council. His last posting was as the Deputy Director in Uganda. As prestigious as the position was, Kevin had begun to feel the full effect of the stress his job was putting him under. A burnout is described as a physical or mental collapse caused by overwork or stress, like a rubber band that had been stretched too far. Kevin snapped.
I had a manager who, although he had his good points, was a poor manager, and I told him about 4 months before I actually snapped that I was anxious, I was getting very depressed, and had he been a good manager, because he would have referred me to our experts in London who have to deal with many people overseas who are going through stress, but he didn't do that for reasons I don't know. But eventually, I snapped, and it was really big burnout. And we came back to UK. I took early retirement, and we had a terrible year, having to decide from '96 to '97 what to do with the rest of my life. Now, the bad manager, the director of the British Council that I had at that time, you see, for that year, I thought it was a total disaster. But because he was such a poor manager, it meant that had I got the support that I should have got, I would have tried to stagger on with the British Council, if not in Uganda, then in the UK, and carried on with the same sort of stress. But the result was that I moved into something that was much more suited to my personality. And we came back to Uganda independently, my wife and I, after I took early retirement in 1997. And for a number of reasons, it felt the right thing to do. Our relatives, families, thought we were mad, No job to go to, no nothing, just going off to Uganda, Now at London Airport on the way here, we were sitting in the departure lounge, and somebody came up to us and said, "Hello, how are you?" And it was Rachel Magola of the Afrigo band. And that sounded right immediately. In the departure lounge, and to cut a long story short, our first 2 years back independently, we lived with Rachel Magola and her sisters in Chitintale. And this was during the period where Rachel had her wonderful big hit, Abangaina. And so it was a very interesting and exciting time.
That is the beauty of tragedy. You have heard it so many times. What doesn't kill you will only make you stronger. Kevin and Sue O'Connor were to find that life back in Uganda, without that big expatriate paycheck, was going to be more rewarding.
So going back to London Airport, we got on the plane with Rachel, and we arrive at NTV, and there are two athletes that we have coached, waiting for us at NTV airport. So we come out of the arrivals into outside, and one of the athletes, Moses, about at that time about 20, he saw us and he started crying. Well, you've got to have made the right decision. I was crying through joy, not through unhappiness, I have to say.
So Kevin has settled in Uganda, and after 15 years, considers it his home. We'll let him tell you how he starts his day.
A typical morning, I will go down to the trading centre, buy the newspapers. While I'm skimming in the morning down in the trading centre, the other newspapers were being read by Ugandans, and that's lovely. It's a lovely start to the day. Not some horrible meeting in the company boardroom or something like that. It's a nice, relaxed start to the day. So people who know me well say that since I've come back here independently, we came back here in 1997, I've changed. That I'm far less stressed, that the humour, the natural humour that comes out far more in me, and that, well, I don't know if I'm a better person to know at all, but I'm certainly a more relaxed and happier person.
Kevin's column, Roving Eye, is quite popular among Ugandans. What was the inspiration behind the column?
I mentioned my friend David. He was one of several journalists, senior journalists, who I'm eternally grateful for helping me to get started in writing. The very first article I wrote is in the book, and it was during that period in 1994. It was of a football match between Uganda and Ethiopia. My wife and I had gone to watch at Nabugabo Stadium. It's called 5-Goal Celebration. And in that article is the following sentence. For the observer of human behaviour, every scene has its interest. And that, in a way, encapsulates Roving Eye. Because everywhere you go, every moment of every day, if you look around you, things are happening and going on. And there is something there that will be quite interesting.
Kevin has written about a range of topics, from lowering the consent age from 18 to 16 years for sex, and even taken up a stand against tobacco companies sponsoring sporting events.
And it is interesting that it was my interest in athletics that got me into becoming an anti-tobacco campaigner, because we coached for 4 years the hugely talented athlete Grace Burunji. And Grace, because she was such an outstanding athlete, was often invited to the infamous collaboration between the Ugandan Sports Press Association and British American Tobacco. It was called the Sportsman Gala of the year, after Sportsman cigarettes, of course. Now, can you believe it that at that gala, cigarettes would go around on silver trays with, waitresses and waiters, and cigarettes would be handed out to Uganda's top runners, their top footballers, their top sportsmen, and so on. I mean, it was a total disgrace. And of course, the senior managers in that company would know they could not get away in a million years with that in Britain or America. But in a poor third world country, of course you can. Of course you can. You can do what you want, can't you? And if I have to say one more thing fortunately, that the campaign, which involved not just me, of course, but it involved a lot of Ugandan journalists, lawyers, sports people, health people, writing to newspapers and so on. We brought this to an end. It's well known around the world that the easiest way that one can reduce consumption of cigarettes is by increasing excise duty on them. Now, this is a wonderful opportunity for the Uganda Minister of Finance, Mr. Ezra Suruma, in the forthcoming budget, to do something very marvellous indeed, because in the 2007 budget, the excise duty on cigarettes on tobacco was increased in Kenya, increased in Tanzania, but remain unchanged in Uganda. And it really is a win-win situation for the Ugandan government. Firstly, the tax revenue will increase. The reason for this is, for economists will understand when I say this, the demand for cigarettes is inelastic. In other words, if the price goes up by a certain percentage, the quantity consumed will reduce by a smaller percentage. The end result is that Ugandan tax revenue will go up, but also the result is that cigarette consumption will go down. So at one stroke, the Minister of Finance can increase Ugandan tax revenue collection and increase Ugandan life expectancy. Now, what a wonderful opportunity. So please, Ezra, let me call you by your first name. Please, please, please increase excise duty on tobacco substantially in the next budget. Please.
Coming up,
Sagala Man U, Sagala Chelsea.
on this episode of Profiles.
Running, for me, when I was particularly at secondary school, a nervous, anxious boy, it got me noticed because I had some success at running.
He is crazy, outspoken, funny, and never at a loss for words. Meet Kevin O'Connor, the renowned writer of the column Roving Eye.
Sagala Man U, Sagala Chelsea, Sagala
The time, 1300 hours. The location, the plush settings of Kampala Serena Hotel. We sit down for a one-on-one with Kevin to talk about his life and his recently published book. Sit back and relax because we can guarantee you that you will not be bored.
Hugely expensive for NTV to bring a Richard Gere, Tom Cruise lookalike to their studio. Therefore I thought I should be looking my best. So that was the reason I'm combing my hair and now rubbing the dandruff off my shoulders on these expensive Serena Hotel carpets. Well, I'm Kevin O'Connor. I'm sorry to disappoint all the ladies out there who think I'm only 23 years, but I'm actually 55, which means if you're good at maths, I was born in 1952 in West London. I have one older sister, and she is almost 5 years older than me. My parents were poor by British standards. My father was a cleaner in a bank, so part of my growing up process was watching him, because we lived over the bank, was watching him clean toilets and floors and so on. My mother was a factory worker, so they were poor by British standards. But one thing about them was, though they themselves had to leave school at 14, which was the minimum school leaving age in Britain at the time, determined to give my sister and myself the education that they had never had themselves.
Kevin O'Connor went on to get a master's in economics. He was to work as a teacher in Nigeria, in the British Council, and as an athletic coach. How did all of this start?
Well, like a lot of people at university, I had no idea what I wanted to do in life. And one of the reasons why VSO, voluntary service overseas, attracted me was it was in a way deferring the major decision about what you were going to do with your life. And I was posted by VSO as a teacher in a boys' school in northern Nigeria, and a village was called Keko, spelled K-O-K-O. So I found myself at the age of, 21, in a village in northern Nigeria, in a mud hut, with no running water, no electricity. I had to get the water from the well, I had to use a latrine and so on. And it was my first experience of Africa, but it shaped me a lot, that experience. And there were ups and downs in that 2.5 years, but it was what introduced me to Africa.
And how did he and Sue, the love of his life and a professional photographer, meet exactly?
I met Sue when I was about 30, or just coming up to 30. And we met playing badminton. We were in the same badminton club. And it was quite interesting in that we had a few months together and some involvement, but she'd already planned to go to Australia with some friends. So I fell in love with her. And then she was gone out of my life. And she came back after about 18 months and we got in touch. So it was like having two courtships. I think we lived together, we started living together in about 1984, and then we got married in 1989. And I think the other thing that many viewers would be surprised to learn is that we don't have any children, which is quite common in first world countries. And so what has kept us together is not, for example, children, it's that we love each other. And a lot of what I've achieved in life has been as a result of a successful marriage and my wife being there to give me self-confidence, especially self-confidence, because naturally I'm a very anxious person, and she's so often been there to support me, both emotionally and in many other ways during my life.
Coming up,
I had a manager who, although he had his good points, was a poor manager, and I told him about 4 months before I actually snapped that I was anxious, I was getting really depressed, and had he been a good manager, because he would have referred me to our experts in London.
as a boy, Kevin's passion for sport led him to excel in a field both at school and later in life as a professional athletic coach in Uganda. Kevin and his wife Sue do this for free. A price cannot be put on watching your protégés growing up to become professionals.
Let's say for Grace Burunji, she got the sponsorship from from Shell, which meant that it gave her opportunities for international travel and things like that that she wouldn't have had. Now, Sue and I currently coach a young lady called Achola Janet, and she is now senior 800-meter national champion, and I think as a result of that is now at the prison's training school. So she has got hopefully a work opportunity coming her way for her many years ahead, solely because of her athletics success. So that gives me a buzz when something like that happens.
And Kevin's latest project is the book he had published recently.
And it's my first book. I mean, it was a lovely feeling when I saw it for the first time. If I haven't mentioned it already, let me say that on Saturday the 19th of April, I think for the first time in a Ugandan bookshop at Aristock in Garden City, I'm going to be at a book signing. Anyway, it's now Kevin O'Connor Unplugged is now going to sing a song. So here we go then. 1, 2, 3. Sagala Manu, Sagala Chelsea, Sagala Arse, in Jagala Fulham, 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 or as Ugandans would say, Fulham, 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 Fulham.
Thank you for watching Profiles. Tune in on Monday next week to see the rerun. Write to us at profiles@ntvuganda.co.ug. Enjoy the rest of your viewing and keep watching NTV.
This is NTV.
As the sun colors flowers, so does art color life. Hello, welcome to this episode of Art and Design. On the show today, we talk to an artist whose work is both versatile and amazing. And in My Wedding, we take a look at wedding vows and how they affect your marriage. On this show, we have met many gifted artists who have been inspired and influenced by people and events in their home backgrounds to take on this journey through art. Today, we talk to an artist whose fascination with art began as a personal challenge to do better than what others had done.
I was passing around the compound, then I realized that students had been given some exercise. To me, it looked like they were not really serious about what they had been given. It looked like I could have done that exercise better given what I saw that they had done so far. So I went back to that teacher of the then S2, Mr. Anthony Karole. He's now deceased. Then he said, I cannot trust that you are good and I cannot embrace you in my class until you have brought a report from your former teacher in S1. So I went to my former teacher again in S1, who was by then called Sengendo. He is also deceased. So fortunately I had never got below an 80 in S1. So he made a small note for me and I went back to Mr. Karole. Mr. Karole looked at the recommendation. He said, you can join. So I joined back in S2 and S2 second term, I think. So First week, they knew I was in class. Second week, they felt my presence. I think within the first month of my joining back, I was at the top.
Berna went on to study art at the university level, where he specialized in painting and graphics. He later joined the university staff, where as head of the Department of Painting and Art History, he shares his passion with others.
During those days when we joined the Makerere, a student would be exposed to all the subjects. And then after identifying where you happen to perform best, or the lecturers would, channel you to your particular zone. I was an all-rounder. There are artists whom they call, there's those artists who can do particular subjects, and then there are those who are all-rounders, the ones who can do any subject. I was an all-rounder.
Godfrey Berna is a versatile artist who cannot be put in a box. He works in a variety of styles, all of which he says are determined by the topic he is working on and his perceptions.
I fall everywhere because I think about every topic and I respect every topic in its own way, and I give it the style it deserves. So anything that I think about, I find a style that suits it.
Unlike some other artists, Berna will not sit down at his canvas, sketch and paint a picture, then lie back and relax at a job well done. For him, the creation of a painting is a complex process which starts with a variety of sketches and will take from a few months to a year or two.
I sit down and sketch these pictures. Then finally, I come up with an idea, which has been a result of sketching several times around the topic that I thought about so many months ago. But of course, the first sketch may not be as good as the second one, up to maybe the 10th sketch. So what you do is to make a crossbreed. You can try out crossbreeds of these sketches. Then you finally say, I'm painting this one. But the problem is that when you are lifting and transferring this sketch from the sketchbook onto the canvas, there is a likelihood, like a lorry traveling from Mombasa to Kampala can get an accident or it can change course. So anything that comes up as an idea interrelated to the previous sketch, I don't block it from entering the canvas. I embellish it, I incorporate it, and then I paint.
He has thus produced pieces of work which are truly amazing, both in the depth of meaning that he has managed to infuse in them and the artistic style. February 14th, as this picture is called, was the result of observing human behavior for almost 6 years.
So on February 14th, human beings behave, the majority behave like insects. Everywhere you see people are collecting flowers, donating flowers, giving out flowers. But if you are giving out a physical flower, do you have a metaphysical flower in your heart that you have to give out, which is more durable? So you'll find that this insect conduct of high affection towards the nectar of love, or maybe the nectar of flowers, becomes actually disease to everybody on that day. And actually when you watch them, they cease to have their human nature and they borrow parts of the insect life. And seemingly, when you watch their eyes and actions carefully, it's like they are transforming into insect-like nature, surrounding the phenomena of love and nectar. Upwards, you find that some are moving towards the beaches and becoming more human, maybe. And then finally, in the upper zones, they may fall behind the horizon of life. That some may die, some may get chucked, and some may actually lose a long-standing friendship, but just get absorbed.
Locomotion is another picture in which the artist endeavors to capture both the physical and biological aspects of flight.
You'll find that the Wright brothers, when they were creating the aeroplane, maybe for them they concentrated on the mechanics, on borrowing the mechanics of a bird as it takes off from the ground to fly. And then maybe later they made the aeroplane. But personally, I was interested in the mechanics of the bird, plus to the flight business, and maybe the current relationship between biological things and mechanical things.
Bernardo believes that art is individualistic, tied to each individual's perceptions and portrayal of those perceptions.
Talents are individualistic. You cannot convert a student into yourself or into being like who you are, but you can identify a student and polish that student as of how he is, so that you make the best out of him, so that you get various artists and various styles.
He admits to having great admiration for Leonardo da Vinci, though he has not been influenced by his style.
Yeah, he was a genius because he ranged from an engineer, he was an astronomer, an architect, he was a fine artist, he was a doctor. So, and he was able to handle every situation as it presented itself. So I would think that I admire him, but he has not necessarily influenced what I do, because the topics that I generate and work upon were not thought about by Leonardo. They are things that I've gone through in life, thought about as an individual, as how God made me. So I'm an individual artist who does things the way my mind sets around them and thinks about them.
All the same, he has not been immune to his influence, as this picture of Venus has been an inspiration of the Da Vinci Code.
Venus is a star in space, and the analysts have confirmed that it has 5 points. The Greeks used to pay respect to it, and they would supplicate luck from it, or those who are going for athletics would also pray that Venus gives them strength and so on.
Though Bernardo is as exasperated as many other artists over the general public's lack of appreciation of art, he is optimistic that this trend is changing. For any couple, their wedding day is the most important day of their lives. It marks a journey which the two will take together for the rest of their lives, and that is exactly what they promise each other as they say their vows. Till death do us part.
God is the initiator of marriage. Marriage did not begin with man. Marriage began with God in the Garden of Eden. So God is the initiator. In fact, we say, marriage was given unto man by the divine wisdom and the kindness of God. Marriage is a covenant. A covenant means an unbreakable promise. It is a pledge that you cannot go away from it. Once you say, I do, you do. Till death do you part.
Unfortunately, according to statistics from the National Center of Health, a proportionate rate of about 50% of marriages taking place in the USA will eventually end in divorce. This alarming state of affairs is steadily spreading to the third world. So what happened to those marriage vows?
As we walk together in marriage, you're going to discover, is this really the angel that I married? Because you see, marriage, just like in the area of communication, exposes you for who you are. Your best friend, who is your spouse, will really learn to accept you for who you are. He will discover the things that makes you tick, the things that annoys you most. And some of the things that makes you tick might not be the things that make her tick. Some of the things that really annoys you are simple childlike things, which to her are non-issues. These are two different people who are learning to live together, walk together till death do them part. There is bound to be serious misunderstandings.
In spite of all the joy and good surrounding a couple at their wedding day, marriage is not an end, but the beginning of a journey which starts at the altar. Along the way, there are roadblocks when the couple has to stop and review those vows and promises they made to each other, as they can provide directions when the couple has reached crossroads, not knowing where to turn.
You know, many people think the wedding day is the end of the marriage. No, the wedding is the beginning of the marriage. It is when now you begin to walk together. That is the start of the marriage. So the covenant that you make is to help you walk together till death do you part. So because people don't understand the seriousness of the vows that they make, guess what? They think the wedding with the Mercedes-Benzes, with all the powerful, many people have turned up. Oh, I've made it now. I've arrived. No, you have just begun.
Writing your own vows is considered to be one of the ways in which a couple can form an attachment to these vows, which will help them through all the good and hard times.
I think when you're writing your vow, first of all, go back and find out who God is. Why God says, I hate divorce. Why God says, till death do you part. Why God says it is an unconditional love. Not I love you because you're beautiful. Well, the guy is already handsome. The girl is already beautiful. But I love you for who you are. And that is the thing. And if they could capture that one and they understand it, when they are writing the vows, they will come up with a vow that will be something that is truthful till death do them part. It will be like a guideline.
So whether a couple have written down their vows or they are to be repeated after a presiding minister, wedding vows should be made and meant to last.
Actually, we invite couples, if it was possible, we just give them guidelines. If they can put up their own words and come up with this thing, we really appreciate. But the gist of it all, it must capture that promise of an unbreakable promise. For example, I will love you, I will keep you in good times, in bad times, in health and in sickness, in poverty and in riches or wealth. I will keep you till death do us part. If they can capture that one, we don't mind all the flowery words. You're the girl of my dream, you are my boy, we don't mind. They can come up with all those flowery words, but in it must capture that covenantal aspect of the promise of an unbreakable promise, that pledge that they are going to make to each other. And they are free to come up with their own words, but they must capture the gist of that covenant.
For more information on how to write meaningful vows, look out for the next issue of the My Wedding magazine. From early on in life, everybody has a dream of the job they will have and the kind of life they will lead in the future. For some people, it stays just that, a dream, while for others, they will struggle against all odds to achieve their dream. Today on Fashionista, we feature a young designer who has just joined the fashion world, but we have been struck by her determination and enthusiasm to make it big in this industry. Harit Nagai has been fascinated by fashion since she was a child, and after completing her senior 6, when the opportunity presented itself, she took it up without a second thought.
It's Latif. Latif has inspired. When I finished my senior 6, I just read about him in the news, and I had to find out the school where he went. When I heard he had gone to Tina School of Beauty, I went direct and asked for the place. And it's from him. He grew up with it. It's not like stolen from somewhere, but it's him that he does the work from his brains. And the casual part of it, the way he does his hats, the way he does his things really inspires me.
Though at the moment she's a teacher at the Tina School of Beauty, Harit is passionate about making a name for Nati fashions, distinct for the uniqueness and creativity of her designs.
Mostly I deal in, usually I cut youth clothes, and the traditional African part of it, I touch it, but I usually modernize it. Like for example, the green gomez, it's an African fabric. I usually use African fabrics and mix them with other shiny fabrics like that. Like the zebra outfit, the white one, I wanted to pull out the youth, but then the African bit of the youth. That's what I do. I usually mix in the African attires with the European. That's my kind of thing. I usually like casuals mostly, and African traditional, but modernizing it. I usually use linen, then I mix it with silk or satin. I do beadwork, I do crafts, so sometimes I do necklace and do beadwork on it. Beadwork is not so expensive as a designer, so when you do beadwork, it brings out the unique, when it's something unique about your outfit. Then I use the soft bazaar, the bazaar and the cotton. Mostly those are, and then the African fabrics, African prints.
So I've just come for dress, and I need you to make me a dress. I need a fancy dress and red in color, fancy dress.
In order to achieve her dream, Harit believes that this is going to be through hard work and making her clients feel special by handling them right.
When you come in, you tell me what you are interested in, then I advise you, I draw for you in my book something, I advise you on it, we discuss it, we agree together, that's when I start doing the outfit. Like I advise on what and how unique, like I have to make it something unique about it. Like for example, you saw the tie alone and the collar alone, something like that.
So if you're looking for something beautiful to take home to your sweetheart, you know where to look.
Harit was first launched into the limelight by her participation in the Afro-Asian fashion show in Munyonyo in March. The result, giving her clients the best of her.
We used fashion designers, the youth fashion designers of Uganda, the Stella Tiles, the Marina Kibo Latif, the young generation of the fashion industry in Uganda. And we're looking at what they have done. We have Davin from Kiwi Designs, and we had Tina School of Beauty and Design, they had Nati, who they sent over. And these girls would do, because like Tina School, Nati did 3 sukas. I didn't even know that in Uganda we had the Nubian suka. It was impressive, I saw it that day. So she did the Chinyakole suka, the Nubian suka, and all that. So we're doing the cultural attires we have here.
First of all, when you come in, we talk. I get out after discussing. You tell me, some people usually look at those photos, some photos around. Some of the drawings, I usually don't believe in magazines. Sometimes they're there, but people want them, but I usually draw for you something. When you tell me, I draw for you something. That's what I believe in. Afterwards, I take your measurements. After taking your measurements, you give me your contacts, everything. We agree on the price. I draft. I go on the drafting part of it. I usually have blocks of different sizes. I trace out, stitch. After stitching, you have to iron while stitching. Then you overlock the outfit, hang it until then you call the customer when she comes around. And you have to be fast in everything that you do. Time for designers, we have to be fast because some clients have been complaining about timing.
For one so young, Harit is not daunted by venturing into a field which is already dominated by established designers, the likes of Latif, Santa Anzo and Sylvia Wuri. She bubbles with energy and enthusiasm as she discusses her plans for the future.
My future plans is to launch my label, to be known, like Nati Fashions. That name, I got it out of my names, Harit Nagai. Then I went and looked for it in a dictionary and I found out the meaning, and really that's what I want to look forward to. Launching my label, expanding my workshop, opening up a modeling agency if possible, because I need a modeling agency.
That's it for today on the Art and Design Show. Remember, art is and remains the essence of perfection. Send us mail on artanddesign@ntvuganda.co.ug. Until next week, good viewing.
This is NTV.
Today, on Showcase Uganda, we visit one of Uganda's oldest districts, Masaka, and discover a perfect getaway for a weekend of relaxation with your family. It is time for us to be off again for more adventures and discoveries. On this time, our expedition takes us 80 kilometers along Masaka Road to the southern Uganda region, destination Masaka District. Masaka District is one of the oldest districts of Uganda. Originally, it consisted of Rakai, Kalangala, and Sembabule, making it once the largest district in Uganda. Today, Masaka has been reduced in size after Kochi, Sese Islands, and Sembabule sub-districts were elevated to the district status. The district is bordered by Sembabule in the northwest, Mpigi district in the north, Rakai district in the west and south, and Kalangala district in the east. Like other regions in the country close to water bodies, Masaka's topography is a unique combination of tropical forests, rolling hills, marshland, swamps, plains, and lake. With an average annual rainfall of between 1100 to 1200 millimeters, the district is ideal for agriculture. The rainfall pattern is bimodal, having two crop seasons with dry spells in between July and August, as well as January and March. This makes crop farming the main occupation in the area. Although Mbarara district has taken over the first position as the chief producer of matoke in Uganda, for a long time matoke and coffee have been the main crops grown in Masaka district. The deep, fertile soils have also contributed to the growing of other crops like cassava, maize, beans, sweet potatoes, and tea. Livestock rearing is also practiced in this area, and thus the main source of income is the sale of crops and livestock. Lorries and pickups must penetrate deep into interior areas in search for this food for Kampala and Masaka town markets. The activity in the marketplace is evidence of this profitable trade, with produce coming in even from neighboring districts. The Masaka Central Market, which is enclosed and has a number of well-built structures, is not as busy as the Nyendo Market, which is found on the outskirts of Masaka town. The assortment of commodities available in the market can only be matched by who flock to the market from neighboring districts of Rakai, Sembabule, Barara and Bushenyi. The market, though made up of temporary structures, is quite clean and spacious, having been shifted to its present site from its old and congested location on the Bukakata Road. After taking in the colorful ambience of the marketplace, we decide to make a tour of Masaka town, the chief town of the district. Our route takes us through Nyendo, which is quickly but steadily turning into a fast-growing commercial center. Masaka town lies west of Lake Victoria. Contrary to our expectations, it has not economically towns in the country. For a long time, it was the second largest town in Uganda, which is no longer the case. This, many have largely attributed to the destruction it underwent during the 1979 Liberation War that ousted Idi Amin from power. It is said Masaka has never fully recovered. The town has mostly retained the old colonial-style buildings that were constructed during the colonial era. It is claimed that the reason why there is not a lot of fresh, modern architectural designed buildings is that many of Masaka residents have been migrating to greener pastures in the capital, Kampala, where they have set up big businesses and even constructed major structures. Another contributing factor to this trend, it is said, has been the suspension of the activities of the Masaka Cooperative Union, which played a key role in the economic development of the district. In spite of all the setbacks, trade is definitely thriving. It has grown into a major stopover for those en route to other tourist destinations like the national parks. Travelers will be able to find almost anything in Masaka supermarkets or in the numerous shops in the town. With the vast amount of activity and traffic going on, the town would definitely be able to benefit if investment was made in infrastructure like shopping malls, modern theaters, and hotels. When Showcase Uganda returns, it's time to loosen up at Lake Nabugabo. Within the villages of Masaka, Lake Nabugabo is a pleasant surprise. Your drive through miles of forest and rural landscapes will not adequately prepare you for this gem in the countryside. The magnificent expanse of water with its beautiful beaches is a delightful contrast. In this rural setting, enjoy nature in an environment that is both calm and beautiful. Since this is a popular resort for weekends and public holidays, you may find quite a number of activities going on. Beach volleyball is a farm favorite, and it will help you relieve all the tensions and pressures of everyday life. After a vigorous game, you can actually go and cool down in the inviting glistening waters of the lake or go for a boat ride. After working up an appetite from all the delightful activities, you can have a meal at the Sand Beach Hotel or opt for a picnic lunch. Also, for those who enjoy animal company, tame and friendly donkeys will provide some amusement as they constantly prowl around and without invitation help themselves to your meal. If you opt to stay in this haven for the weekend, accommodation is available at Terrace View Beach with its charming cottages or the Sand Beach Hotel. You can even set up camp with tents or chill out in a caravan. It has all the necessary amenities for sleeping, cooking, eating, and even washing up. Time out at Nabugabo can be a truly refreshing experience.
The beach is so nice, as you can see. The scene is so lovely. I've enjoyed the waters. It's my first time to come here. We've been playing volleyball over there, and we've had some fun in the waters. We've had some nice food, drinks, and we have enjoyed a lot.
I've liked almost everything about here. I've really had a good time. Yeah, I went swimming, I went boat riding, bird watching. Everything was very good.
Well, spending time with family. Yeah, that's the thing I have loved most.
We leave all the fun of Nabugabo behind and head for the Bukakata landing site to get a glimpse of the ferry, since we are right onto the road to Bukakata. Impressive. The massive waters were steady with a cool breeze blowing over the area, and flocks of birds were swimming in the waters and flying lazily overhead. The jetty, though quiet and sleepy at our arrival, soon burst into a flurry of activity as the ferry approached from the islands. It was quite amazing to see the huge ferry dock. Its capacity is incredible, as it's able to comfortably accommodate a sizable number of cars and lorries, in addition to an assortment of merchandise. This is from the motorboats which were being used for transportation. The ferry is able to make 4 trips a day, and so business with the islands is now booming. There was a flood of activity as people rushed off the ferry in a hurry to board the few taxis leaving for Nyendo town. Another lot then boarded the ferry for its return trip to the islands. Pretty soon, the jetty is back to its sleepy state. After an enjoyable day, we finally returned to the Brevard Hotel, which provides some of the best accommodation and service facilities available within Masaka. Its elegant comfort makes it an ideal place to stay if you are in Masaka for a few days or as a stopover on your way to or from Kampala. The guests have a chance to trade stories about their different amazing discoveries in the Pearl of Africa over a meal in the hotel's dining room. Afterwards, you can have a cool, refreshing drink in a tranquil and homely atmosphere anytime as you rest and make plans for your next move. If you are in the mood to take on the nightlife in Masaka town, you will find yourself gravitating towards Ambiance Discotheque. It is found on the roadside just before you enter Masaka town and is actually very easy to spot since at this time of night, that's where everybody seems to be heading. Other residents with a more sedate taste have created a nook for themselves at the Club 2000. Here, the youth who harbor dreams of becoming music stars strut their stuff in the hopes of being discovered by some benefactor. Masaka town does indeed have its moments. When Showcase Uganda returns, we visit Buama and encounter a farm offering a unique product. Our return journey to Kampala was quite uneventful until we reached Buama. Having heard a lot about the crocodiles of Buama, we decided to put picture to story by visiting the famous crocodile farm. We branched off the main road and took the Maram Road through the serene countryside up to the farm. We were in for a surprise. Instead of the farm-like structures we had in mind, we were soon confronted with the most picturesque resort, complete with a stunning beach and cottages. Apparently, a trip to Buama is not only about visiting these remarkable reptiles, you can take a break and enjoy a few days of relaxing scenery and tranquility. We then made our way to the awesome crocodiles, which are under commercial production for their skin and meat. The farm consists of 9 ponds, each housing a different number of crocodiles depending on age and size. The crocodiles are not bred at the farm, rather, eggs are collected from Murchison Falls National Park and incubated. The hatching and rearing is then done at the farm. Harvesting of the crocodile skin and meat is done when they're 3 to 4 years old and is done twice a year. According to the manager of Camp Crocs, Richard Alinda, the farm is on an extension program which will also include an in-house breeding project.
Early in the morning, we make sure these crocodiles are in a healthy condition. In a healthy condition, it means these ponds have to be clean. From 1 day to 1 year, we feed them 3 times a week. Or we jump 1 day and feed them on the next day. Then from 2 to 3, we feed them 2 times a week. Then from 3 to 4, and the rest we feed them once a week.
We also had a chance to make the acquaintance of Benjamin, the man-eater. The 5-meter crocodile is reputed to have devoured 83 residents of Lugaga village in Bujiri district, having terrorized them for 20 years before his capture by Wildlife Authority personnel.
He's around 64 years old. He eats around 50 kilos of meat. He weighs around 600 kilos, and they said it ate more than 84 people. I mean, if you know what he wants, if you know how he responds, he's friendly. But if you don't know all the behaviors of crocodiles, it's very unfortunate that you may die. It knows where it can jump at once and reach. So if you're not careful, you reach that marked part, it can get you at once. But if you know how it reacts to any movement, it hunts, how it is able to fight, then you can manage it.
Benjamin, who weighs up to 1,000 kilograms, was loaded onto a pickup by 50 local fishermen and then relocated to this farm. Apparently, his man-eating days are over. Next week on Showcase Uganda,
This is NTV. This is NTV. This is NTV.
As soon as I get the accusations, I'll take immediate steps.
Bank of Uganda governor vows to crack the whip on errant officials as police rearrest Geoffrey Kazinda, an accounting officer in the Prime Minister's office. It is Thursday night, the 2nd of August 2011. Thank you for joining us on NTV tonight. Let's have a look at tonight's headlines.
Police quiz Ministry of Health officials in Global Fund probe.
Tortured life. Mysterious disease eats away at a 20-year-old man.
Also tonight, 2 suicide bombers killed as Somali Assembly endorses new draft constitution.
Hello and welcome to NTV Tonight. I am Gabriel Apenu.
And I am Rachel Arinitwe.
First, police have rearrested Geoffrey Kazinda, a prime suspect in the ongoing investigations into the mismanagement of money in the office of the Prime Minister.
Now, the principal accountant, Kazinda, after a recent allegation that he connived with the manager of a petrol station in Ntinda to fraudulently buy fuel.
Meanwhile, Bank of Uganda Governor Emmanuel Tumusime Mutebile told journalists at a press conference that he will crack the whip on errant officials in the central bank implicated in this loss.
Now, on Tuesday, the Permanent Secretary, Pius Birimana, pointed an accusing finger at the Bank of Uganda governor, saying the Bank of Uganda saying some of its officials are involved in the scandal.
Now, on Tuesday, the Permanent Secretary pointed an accusing finger at the governor. Let's have that story.
At around 11:30 a.m., Geoffrey Kazinda left CID headquarters headed to his former office at the Prime Minister's building as detectives continue to search for more evidence to pin him.
According to the information that we've got, Kazinda is rearrested on another file, but also the Constitution states that you cannot hold a person or a suspect beyond 48 hours before he or she is tried in court. Critics say that another challenge that the investigations team might face is the torture bill that was passed by Parliament of Uganda recently, which states that if a suspect is held beyond 48 hours, it is another form of torture, and the arresting officer will be held liable.
Kazinda's rearrest came after on Tuesday members of Parliament called for his arrest over fears he might interfere with investigations. On Tuesday, the Permanent Secretary Pius Birimana pointed an accusing finger at Bank of Uganda while addressing a parliamentary committee.
Who is in the Bank of Uganda that would allow such a withdrawal?
As soon as I get the accusations, I'll take immediate steps to investigate them, and if they are accurate, I will take steps to rectify the situation, including disciplining those who may have been involved.
Kazinda, who was the first to be arrested, was granted bail on 28th last month. His rearrest stems from the allegations that he connived with Waiswa Hussein, a petrol station manager in Ntinda, to forge receipts of an amount of money yet to be established. An assistant to the commissioner in charge of disaster and preparedness, Beatrice Kezab, was today released on bond after she was arrested yesterday on allegations that she picked the receipts from the petrol station. Her boss, Owol Martin, a commissioner, was arrested on Tuesday and released on bond after denying charges of forgery and conspiracy to commit a felony. Kazinda, who is likely to be arraigned in court soon, is accused of forging cash authorization forms that were used to withdraw money from Bank of Uganda accounts. During the search that is nearly spanning 2 weeks, detectives found pre-signed requisition forms bearing a signature of the permanent secretary, which is alleged to be forged. The documents are also said to have a forged stamp of the PS. What is raising many questions is the fact that it's the practice of the PS Pius Bigirimana to sign the documents after the signature of the accounting officer. Appearing at the CID headquarters today also was Mumanyire Arthur, the accountant from the same office. It is alleged that he typed several Bank of Uganda requisition slips that were used to withdraw unconfirmed amounts of money. The suspects in the developing case include Onyu Isaiah, a cashier, Geoffrey Kazinda and his driver Oyuku Charles, Mumanyire Arthur, an accountant, Wasiho Biekwaso, an assistant accounting officer, Owol Martin, the commissioner, and his assistant Beatrice Kezabu, bringing the number to 7. Sudil Biarhanga, NTV.
Two Ministry of Health officials faced another day of questioning before the Criminal Investigation Directorate over global funds meant for malaria control program. Police sources say that Koni Bulayo and Mary Banjine, along with another official, Bosco Agaba, could have caused a financial loss in the tune of 78 billion shillings. They were grilled for 8 hours.
In this police car, the two women, Koni Balayo and Mary Biangine, were brought to the CID headquarters. It was 11 a.m. and even they could not know that it was to be a long, cumbersome day. The long arm of the law has just started for these two women and their colleague, Bosco Agaba, who did not turn up. Getting out of the car was an unwanted affair because they were shy in facing the cameras. But come out they had to. Mary tried to cover her face with a jacket, but when the effort became futile, she gave up. For Koni Balayo, quitting was not an option. All these are employees of the Ministry of Health, alleged to have squandered unknown amounts of money from the Global Fund for the malaria control program of 78 billion shillings for the financial year 2010-2011, when they were the principal officers responsible for receiving the funds. After instituting an internal audit, the Permanent Secretary, Dr. Suman Lukwago, discovered some irregularities. Police this Monday raided them from their offices and took them to CID offices to record their statements. They have been grilled for over 8 hours in the hope of discovering the exact amount that was lost when the three allegedly overdrew on advances. This evening, they have been released on police bond after denying the charges. Still regarding matters health, at the CID headquarters was also the Executive Secretary and Registrar of the National Drug Authority, Gordon Sematiko, being interrogated for allegedly causing financial loss and abuse of office. Police investigations continue. Florence Talimba, NTV.
Well, it is on this issue that we would like to hear from you on tonight's NTV poll. So we are asking, do you support the current investigations by the police into allegations of graft in government institutions? I repeat, do you support the current investigations by police into graft in government institutions?
Well, to have your say, text your response to 8778 and remember to leave your name and where you're texting from. We'll be reading a few of your responses during and at the very end of tonight's newscast and bring you the final poll result as well. Now, an additional 5 people have been confirmed to be suffering from the deadly Ebola virus in Chibale district following tests carried out yesterday at the Uganda Virus Research Institute in Entebbe. Now, the development comes after 7 more specimens were taken from patients admitted at the isolation facility set up at Kagadi Government Hospital. The Health Ministry today announced that 12 new cases were yesterday admitted at Kagadi Hospital, bringing the total number of admissions since the onset of the outbreak to 30.
The total number of samples collected since the outbreak of the Ebola virus close to a month ago stands at 37. 16 people have since died, a majority of whom are members of the family that first showed symptoms of the virus. However, no more deaths have been reported as of Tuesday this week. The Senior Principal Research Officer and Head of the Department of Emerging and Re-emerging Viral Infections at the Uganda Virus Research Institute, Dr. Julius Lutwama, says 5 people have been confirmed to be infected with the virus, with more tests being carried out at the moment.
By yesterday, there were 7, but only 5 were confirmed. Investigations are still going on, but by the time it was realized that it was Ebola, which was last Friday. Many people had died from that family.
The source of the latest outbreak is, however, still baffling, and according to Dr. Lutwama, they are yet to pinpoint its origin.
We don't know whether the first people who get it from having contact with monkeys or having contact with meat of a particular animal which is infected, or it is an insect which bites them. We don't know, because we don't know how this Ebola keeps in nature.
Yes, so the carrier hasn't yet been established.
Has never been established.
Although several hours away from Chibale, the epicenter of the outbreak, some public places here in Kampala are taking no chances. Security officers at some shopping centers could be seen wearing protective gear as they carried out routine body checks on shoppers.
We've taken a variety of safety measures. First and foremost, we wear gloves in order not to get in contact with people's fluids.
A statement from the Health Ministry today says 232 people in Chibale district suspected to have got in contact with the dead and sick are closely being followed by a surveillance team dispatched from the ministry. An inter-ministerial committee on Ebola has also been formed to coordinate the management of the epidemic. The public is also urged to avoid unnecessary movements and gatherings, especially in Chibale and neighboring districts. Kebelepenu, NTV. A 20-year-old is battling a mysterious disease that is almost severing off his private parts. All medical operations so far done have failed to give him another lease to a decent life. His family, that has not yet lost hope in treating their beloved son, is making one more desperate attempt to have the boy operated upon once again, but they don't have the means to do so. In this report, NTV's Irene Namyalo highlights the plight of Amis Chibirige. Would like to warn you, though, that some of the images may be a bit disturbing.
6 years of suffering with excruciating pain coming from his genitals. Chibirige Amis, now 20 years old, had a small swelling in his private part that has made him see several experts who opted for an operation.
Natandika okufuyisa omusulo nga gumuluma. Ekyavaamu ne guba nga gutonnya butonyi.
Even if they had hoped for the best after the operation, it did not turn out like that. It instead turned out into a big ulcer, almost cutting half his penis and giving him sleepless nights for a year now.
Kati ne bajja bunsala emisiwa gino ne bagikutula. Kati emisiwa gyo bwe gyakutuka ate ne baddamu ne bamusala payipo ye. Kati nsubira mu kugizzaako kuno neegaana.
The boy's problem has rendered his family bankrupt after going to different hospitals. Now they have given up and Amis has resorted to sitting at home helplessly.
Tugamba katumujjanjabeko mu Kiganda tulabe. Abo. Kati nabyo nebikola ki ne bigaana.
Getting a painkiller every day to get a moment of sleep is what Amis has been reduced to. This syringe can't leave his side because it's what he uses to inject himself when pain strikes. Despite the agony, the 20-year-old hasn't lost hope for living. With the promised reviving operation, Amisi is willing to try one more time, but the problem of money still stands in the way. Now the family is calling upon well-wishers to intervene to make the last hopeful operation possible. Irene Namyalo, NTV.
Now, a conference of Somali leaders has overwhelmingly backed a new constitution, paving the way for a new government to be elected this month. However, the vote was about to be derailed by two suicide bombers who blew themselves up outside the building. Under a UN-backed plan, a new parliament will choose the next Somali leader on the 20th of August. As the voting process went on, President Sheikh Sharif took time to visit Middle Shabelle region, about 40 kilometers north of Mogadishu. Patrick Kamara was on the presidential convoy in Somalia and now reports.
The bomb blasts went off just before Sheikh Sharif embarked on a trip to Balad in the Middle Shabelle region of Somalia. In these newly liberated areas, the Somali president was given a hero's welcome, especially in Balad, about 40 kilometers north of Mogadishu. Women and children lined the dusty streets of Balad to welcome their leader amid state security comprised of the Ugandan AU force, the Somali Transitional Government soldiers, and his special forces. The president also toured a dam and an irrigation system on River Shabelle. The president of Somalia, Sheikh Sharif, has left Mogadishu, traveled about 40 kilometers to meet the people. He addressed a group of elders and former workers of a textile factory that has remained intact despite the civil war that has gripped Somalia for decades. In an exclusive interview with NTV, we asked him to explain what would happen just in case the people don't vote him back into power.
In the coming election, Mr. President, what if the people of Somalia do not vote you in? Will you and your commanders accept the defeat?
Obviously accept the outcome of any elections that will happen, obviously, 20th of August.
There are more than 30 presidential aspirants, all in the race for Somalia's topmost job. On the incident of the bomb blast, Sheikh Sharif said that the security forces had proved their alertness by putting them out of action and saving innocent lives.
Thanks God, they were stopped. Their target was just to enter and kill as many as they want, but thanks God, the security forces stopped them.
There were gory images strewn all over the gate of the police academy, where human body parts are littered. We saw remains of a human hand, a leg and a head.
This is the main entrance of General Kahil Police Academy. This is where the two suicide bombers blast themselves here. They are trying to get in to disrupt the ongoing draft constitution making ceremony. Because of the snipers and the readiness of the Somali security forces, they were taken out before they could get in. Patrick Amara, NTV, Mogadishu.
Okay, we're going to take a short break right now, but there's so much more still ahead on NTV tonight, like this.
No way through. Kitgum town cut off as critical bridge floods.
And on Eco Talk this week, how using gas could improve your carbon print.
NTV Tonight continues after this short break. Do stay with us.
This is NTV.
Ideally, we all have the right to express our opinions and views truthfully and openly.
Atelelom tugenda katongole mbukasam.
Kampala bwerere mwansomo the bus. The discussion is still going on in the bus.
Tulina okugumira challenges ezimu gwe tuba tulina okugoba abatembeeyi mwami lukwaga agumaga abatembeeyi mugende no mbadde ndala kunyonyola omukulu mbadde ndala kunyonyola omwami yagambye nti meya lukwago ye meya omutuufu
gavumenti ekutte lukwago emunyigira mu nsonga takyekyusa.
Welcome back to minibus kyogereko.
Singa omusajja abankwana nga njagala sifa ku kya ssente wabula nfa ku mbeera yeeyisa
alimba ono
This is minibus kyogereko.
kwera embeera y'abasajja bano essuubi nga lyakuggwamu bano abasajja abanaatera n'okujja kusigiriza ffe ekiro basituleko emiwumbo gy'emmere bagitwala.
Welcome back. We start with a reminder of our NTV poll question for tonight and some of your responses. We asked, do you support the current investigations by police into allegations of graft in government institutions? I'll say that again. Do you support current investigations by the police into allegations of graft in government institutions.
If you'd like to contribute to our poll question tonight, the number is 8778. Leave your name as well and where you are texting from. We'll quickly read out a few of your responses so far.
Okay, Otto Charles, you say, I do not support them because the perpetrators are not brought to justice after the investigations are through.
And Bosco in Bududa saying yes, because that is the way police washes away injustice from them.
Okay, our tentative poll result stands at 70% of you saying yes, 30% of our respondents so far saying no.
Do stay with us. We'll be reading a few more of your responses at the very end of tonight's newscast and bring you the final poll result as well.
Indeed. Now, the Chief Justice Benjamin Odoki has expressed concern that the number of case logs will increase if the Judicial Service Commission does not speed up the appointment of new judges.
Meanwhile, the judiciary has finalized its guidelines for judges and magistrates to be used while making rulings.
These developments come as magistrates hold their third annual conference.
Solomon Serwanja reports.
Over a year, many appeals in the Supreme Court have remained pending after delays by the Judicial Service Commission to appoint the 7th member of the Supreme Court bench. The Supreme Court can only preside over these cases if the quorum is fully constituted to 7 judges. One of the members of the Supreme Court, Judge John Sekoko, is also to retire in 3 months' time after clocking the age of 70, creating a bigger gap in the judiciary. Now the judiciary is worried that these delays by the appointing body are contributing to the increased backlog of cases.
There is a acute shortage of judges in the Supreme Court. We cannot form a quorum now to hear a constitutional case or appeal, which needs 7 judges. We are only 6. And the number of total judges in the Supreme Court is supposed to be 11, according to the current law. So you can say that 6 out of 11, the court is like a lame duck.
The judiciary has also declared and presented 6 vacancies for judges to the Judicial Service Commission following the retirement of senior judicial members. Chief Justice Benjamin Odoki has also revealed that the team of judges is to be dispersed to clear all land cases across the country. Meanwhile, the judiciary has set up guidelines that will be a basis for the judges and magistrates while delivering sentences to the convicted.
There has to be equal treatment before the law. The sentences should be uniform and consistent. That's the objective of guidelines. We shall be able to guide the courts on how to approach that sentencing process, because it is not taught anywhere in school.
The judicial revelation comes in the wake of the ongoing reforms in the sector, geared at improving service delivery for justice. The efforts by the judiciary to clear all existing backlog cases has rather been slowed down by the Judicial Appointing Authority. But as the saying goes, that justice delayed is justice denied. Many Ugandans continue to be remanded until when the Judicial Service Commission appoints more judges. Solomon Serwanja, NTV Tonight.
A heavy flooding has submerged Padey Bridge and cut off parts of Kitgum and nearly paralyzed business between the district and Lamo, as well as transport to South Sudan. The flooding that started about midnight on Tuesday was caused by a heavy downpour in the eastern side of the district. It washed away food crops, often homesteads and nearby roadsides. Moses Akena reports.
This was the situation yesterday evening and today morning at Padey Bridge in the center of Kitgum town. Hundreds of pedestrians and cyclists heading to and from the northern parts of the town, as well as travelers to Lamore district and South Sudan, were cut off. Vehicles had to carefully maneuver through the bridge. Other people dared the floods, while some of them just stood on unsure of what to do next.
The bridge is just flooded, even right up from Kitgum. It is flooded and it has stopped the movement from for people from Kitgum to Kitgum Town Council.
These homesteads neighboring the river were completely submerged. Pamela Uma is one of the tenants who was sleeping in this house that was completely damaged by the floods.
At around midnight, so when I woke up at night, I found that there is some flooding inside the house. Plus all our properties were just soaked. Others were just moving out now, out of flowing plus the water. Then they called the neighbors. Then our neighbors came and we started picking things outside. and we slept outside. We just slept outside that neighbor's room.
The Bishop of Kitgum Diocese, Benjamin Ojwang, who was heading to his home in Michan, was one of the people affected. In order to show solidarity with his people, he abandoned his vehicle and attempted to walk through the flooded bridge before being advised against it.
The bridge is low, that's why the water is overflowing. Every year, our people have been suffering. Now what next? The government need to come in to help us build a higher bridge. And this flooding has destroyed even food stuff.
District authorities have stopped all pre-primary and primary classes from operating for fear that the children could drown. Moses Akena, NTV in Kitgum District.
Cooking is an essential activity in many homes around the country, and often people prefer to use wood fuel for cooking. But its impact on the environment is devastating. Now, increasingly, people, especially in urban areas, are turning to cooking gas. So how good is this gas? Crocodile tells us more in tonight's Eco Talk.
Scenes like these are a very common practice in many homes in Uganda. The three-stoned stove that uses firewood and generates a lot of smoke is used to prepare meals at a very affordable cost. But its destructive nature to the environment through the cutting down of trees cannot be underestimated. Alternatives like cooking gas are now making a headway in the market. This is Dr. Wesira's compound in Seguku, now converted into a gas filling plant. Dr. Wesira imports and fills liquefied petroleum gas, which he packages and sells for cooking.
LPG is clean. It's thermally efficient. It saves time, saves money, and saves lives as well.
The gas is extracted from petroleum products, where the slug flow is eliminated from the petroleum products and water content is removed through dehydration. It is then cooled to remove the volatile components like hydrocarbons from the gas, leaving it safe for cooking. It is believed that liquefied petroleum gas or propane results in lower carbon emissions than other energy sources such as charcoal. However, its downside is the pungent smell.
People just need to know that that smell is a stage which helps people to notice that there is LPG somewhere. LPG itself as a product does not smell, but that smell is an additive into LPG, so that it alerts somebody that LPG is there. LPG is heavier than air, and if somebody doesn't know, can easily get suffocated with the product.
Gas has always been considered the fuel of choice for effective home heating and cooking. Now, the users of this cooking gas are also giving back to the environment.
We support a tree planting project whereby the families who live in that estate, they contribute every money which they spend on buying the LPG. We offset 5,000 shillings, which 5,000 we pay to the women who work on the tree planting. And when the tree is ready, the person chooses where he can plant that tree. Yeah, women have chosen to plant the trees in the estates itself. They have also chosen to plant the trees around hospitals, around schools. So whoever does that, it is up to him.
Apart from the benefits it provides inside the home, gas can also contribute significantly in personal efforts to reduce the carbon footprint. Crocodile, NTV, Eco Talk.
Well, it's time for NTV Business with Malcolm Musima, and we'll cross over to him to bring us just that. Malcolm?
Thank you, Gabriel and Rachel. And the reason for you now to maybe get back to the bank and borrow. The Bank of Uganda has brought down its lending rate. Good news? I need to thank you very much for watching. On NTV Business Night, we bring you details of why the Bank of Uganda has reduced its lending rates. So join me after the break for that and more on NTV Business.
Welcome to Abdul Jabari's whole meal restaurant. What's your order, sir?
Rice and beef, please.
Good choice. Come in.
This is NTV.
Kwene embeera y'abasajja bano essuubi nga lyakuggwamu maama. Bano abasajja abanaatera n'okujja kusigiriza ffe ekiro basituleko emiwumbo gy'emmere bagitwale.
Sogera byange. Kibanza bana bagambanga ne bagamba ne bwagala nkubulira ebyange jja tugende emyanzi.
Mpulira abanyumya babeera bakujerega waliko omusawo w'ekinnansi. South Africa baba bakujerega obituufu.
Baba banjerega. Oyo mufere mubbi yennyini yeetaaga miggo.
Omuntu wa bulijjo tomuzannyirangako abeeranga dormant volcano.
Bwemba mukkiriza nina takuwa mugiyita.
Ate takuwa gobeera mugoberezi. Tolowooza nti buli mulimo oyogerera omusiraamu singa naakubuuza nti Katonda yagamba atya.
Bw'oba oli pasita ng'okyawa olimba obba oyenda olina abakazi basatu. Please, heaven is waiting for you. One day you'll pay and soon your time is out.
Otiisa mmoni.
Sitiisa. Nkubuulira Yesu talimba.
Ebintu mbimala mulundi gumu. Kati what is I love peace.
Gwokola byo.
Wegase n'omusajja mutwale mabi.
Born to Dorothy and Alex Ochola on June the 3rd, 1987, our star profile today, Jocelyn Tracy Keko, grew up with a vision of becoming a force to reckon with in the music industry. Keko, whose name means early in the morning, is a Japadola Ugandan artist who comes from Tororo. Keko is the last born of 3 girls and schooled from Rockview Primary School, St. Noah and Maryhill High School before pursuing a Bachelor of Commerce at Makerere University. She's a Ugandan rapper who has taken over the music scene in Africa. Her rise to fame began in 2010.
A very warm welcome to Thursday's NTV Business. Malcolm Sime, and first tonight, following a major drop in inflation, Bank of Uganda has reduced its lending rate for August by rarely seen 2 percentage points from 19% to 17%. As Samuel Setumba reports, the central bank is aiming at rejuvenating the economy by encouraging the reluctant private sector to start borrowing.
For those that have been holding their breath, waiting for the time when they can borrow again, the central bank says you can start thinking seriously about it, or you can start to borrow. This is because the central bank rate has been lowered 2 percentage points down from 19% to 17% for August. But because this is a free market economy, the central bank governor cannot force commercial banks to follow suit by reducing lending rates as they ought to.
I will do whatever it takes to press on the commercial banks to reflect the reduction in CBR in their lending rates.
The 10-month consistent drop in inflation has lent fresh optimism to the central bank.
Annual core inflation is now expected to fall to single digits by the end of the 3rd quarter of calendar year 2012.
By reducing the central bank rate by 2 percentage points, the governor has demonstrated that the inflation situation is getting better and is trying to encourage the private sector to borrow now, provided the commercial banks behave themselves. Will the inflation get to below 10% by December 2012 as expected? That is the hope, and it's only based on things going as well as expected. Samuel Setumba, NTV Business.
Thank you, Sam. And the African Development Bank has today listed its first bond tranche of 12.5 billion shillings on the Ghana Securities Exchange. The bond has, however, already been taken by 4 big institutional investors, denying ordinary Ugandans a chance to directly draw benefits from it. Samuel Setumba again has the details.
That signaled the start of trading at the Uganda Securities Exchange this morning, following the listing of the African Development Bank bond. Unfortunately, Ugandans will not be able to participate in the buying of the 12.5 billion shillings bond. The bond was already shared out between 4 institutional investors, including NSSF and DFCU Bank. Notable is that this is only the second bond that the ADB has issued in local currency in Africa.
This Ugandan shilling funding also enables borrowers to match the debt repayment currency with the currency in which revenues are generated, thereby minimizing foreign exchange risks to these companies.
This particular bond was issued for private sector purposes as a means to extend credit by ADB to Housing Finance Bank,
to finance the development of low-income houses.
For the government, this will help test the market because sooner or later, government intends to enter the bond market for borrowing purposes for the first time in Uganda.
We shall observe the performance of this note issue with a lot of interest to make sure we pick up all those tips that will help us do a smooth start when the government decides to launch funds on the market.
The bond returns will be pegged on the 2-year government bond, where investors will earn an interest of 85% of the interest of this 2-year government bond with a 10-year tenure. Samuel Setumba, NTV Business.
In the equity market, Stanbic and NIC counters posted good activity, with the NIC counter recording the second highest turnover for the first time in a while. We have more in the financial market report.
Financial report
is brought to you by
URA, developing Uganda together.
All vehicles are required to revalidate their registration using our new online module and get a new logbook. All newly imported vehicles will also be registered online using this new online module. Get out of the line and get online.
Now finally, in NTV Business, a failure by higher institutions of learning to inculcate ethical values in the students is partly to blame for the fast falling corporate governance practices among the country's workforce. The concern was raised during a public lecture at Makerere University, just a day after a damning report that revealed an increase of fraud-related cases in region's financial sector.
The private sector says it continues to experience a host of challenges in retaining and building a credible workforce, as issues of integrity remain a disturbing factor.
That you can be rich by being ethical. You can be an achiever, and ethics is not only about money. Ethics is also doing your research in an ethical manner.
These officials were speaking at Makerere University this evening at a ceremony in which the academic institution was honoring Dr. Martin Alika for his distinguished public and private sector service to the country and the world.
More so without acquiring your wealth irregularly, as is fashionable in this country today.
Dr. Alika, a retired board chairman of the Nation Media Group, has over the last 40 years headed boards of local, regional and international corporate entities to profitability and growth.
Nobody can deport us or expel us from this land of ours. I love this country. If there be any person who loves this country more than I do, I want to be this person.
And as Makerere marks 90 years, these concerns over integrity and best business practices being echoed here in Kampala come just a day after international audit firm Deloitte released a report indicating that the entire East African region's financial sector recorded losses associated with fraud to the tune of $48.3 million within the last 1 year alone. Reina Ojan, NTV Business.
Set the alarm on your oven. Keeping oven doors closed uses less energy.
Thank you so much for watching NTV. That's it we had for you from the business desk. We take you back to Gabriel and Rachel.
All right, thank you very much, Malcolm. We'll get into NTV Sport, and Joel Kamadi is here to give us just that. Joel?
Thank you, Rachel and Gabriel. Now, in our Olympic update, I'll be telling you there has been more disappointment for Uganda this time in the men's 50-meter freestyle category after Mugaluganzi came 5th in the hits. I'll be telling you more in NTV Sport up next.
This is NTV.
In the club, in the pub, in the car, just living it up.
Born to Dorothy and Alex Ochola on June the 3rd, 1987, our star profile today, Jocelyn Tracy Keko, grew up.
Good evening, I'm Joel Kamadi and welcome to NTV Sport. Now, transport for Uganda Cranes fans will be available to fly to Zambia for the first leg of the Africa Cup of Nations qualifier between Chipolopolo and Uganda Cranes on the 8th of September. Air Uganda, FUFA and Pulse Port have come up with a subsidized package to cater for the return ticket, internal transport and accommodation. The initiative aimed at checking the Zambians' home support, however, comes with conditions for paying $1,400 for economy and business class flight.
$1,400 for business class and $1,000 for economy class. This price includes transportation, local transportation from the airport to the hotels, then to the stadium, and it also includes accommodation. It includes the jersey, a free Uganda Cranes jersey, and access tickets to the stadium.
Air Uganda doesn't fly to Zambia. This is a special flight that has been positioned specifically for this purpose, for the game between the Chipolopolos and our Uganda Cranes. And in the past, Air Uganda has carried the Cranes to most of their games within East Africa.
But for those who can't pay that lump sum as a whole, you can pay in installments, but at least by 14th or 15th of August, we would request that anyone who intends to travel with us has finished the payment so that we can plan for them well ahead.
Now moving on, the draws for the Airtel Rising Stars tournament that were meant to be done today have been postponed to tomorrow. According to Airtel's public relations manager, this was because most of the children in the regions had to travel. Some stakeholders also did not want to take any risks given the outbreak of Ebola in some of the regions in the country. The finals are slated for this Saturday and Sunday at the Kakindo Stadium in Jinja.
We delayed the draws because, of course, the teams have to travel from across the regions, and we're working with all stakeholders, including Ministry of Sports, Ministry of Health. As you know, of course, Ebola has broken out, and that is it's a scare. But I think it's not yet alarming, and the matches have been going in well. We have done a lot of hype. The kids are ready. They have to travel. So we delayed the travels, but they are going to happen, and the games will happen. We're going to take every precaution that is required, and that's why I was telling you that we're working with all the stakeholders in this. Ministry of Health is also is being involved. We had a meeting today with some of the officials. We did with the Ministry of Education, and most important is that these kids, we have their interests at heart. We do not want anything to happen to them. We're going to work along all the given precautions, both by the ministries, both of education and sports, to make sure that yes, we are working within the right lines.
Airtel Rising Stars, one of Africa's greatest football tournaments, has returned. If you're out there, we'll find you.
Now, Dan Okiror is undergoing rigorous training in Kampala as he prepares to host the first ever professional kickboxing fight in Soroti on the 8th of next month. Okiror, with a record 9 fighters, takes the bout up country to popularize the sport, but key is to build up to his ambitions to become a national champion before seeking to challenge for international titles, as Alfred Odong reports.
Dan Okiror has pitched camp here in Kampala as he seeks to better his skills before taking on Ronald Mwanda in a welterweight professional kickboxing bout to be staged in Soroti next month. Okiror has fought 9 times, 6 in the amateur, while 3 are in the paid ranks, all wins giving the youngster hope he has potential to make it on the world stage.
Actually, the world champion, not regional, not district or what. I'm looking at the world level.
I've been addressing so much on kicking and his movement, to at least to make him faster. For those who watched him in his first fights, he looked slower.
The fights are also aimed at popularizing the sport, especially among the youth, and later engage in a recruitment drive to broaden the talent base. The training session here is part of the preparation ahead of the fight to be held in Soroti on the 8th of next month. Okiror is looking forward to improving on his profile so that he can challenge for the national, regional, continental and world titles in the professional ranks. Alfred Odong, NTV Sport.
And that winds up NTV Sport for tonight. Thanks for watching. Back to you, Gabriel and Rachel.
Thank you very much, Joel Kamadi. And now for a look at Friday's weather prospects. Okay, let's now go back to tonight's NTV poll. We asked you earlier, do you support the current investigations by the Uganda police into graft in government institutions? The final poll result is out, and 62% of our respondents are saying yes, 38% of you say no.
Thank you so much for all your responses tonight. Let's quickly sample a few of what you've sent through.
Okay, Kanyesi J. Sami, you say no. I doubt and do not believe in our Ugandan police. They have never conducted a faithful investigation. And you give an example of the Kabakumba Masiko Mast case.
And Marisa in Busheni seems to have a different opinion. He says, yes, the country is simply tired of public thieves stealing public finances. Let them face the fire.
Okay, Abasa Shela, you say, I support the Uganda police because corruption is getting out of hand and investigations into this will help rid the country of it.
And finally, someone here who didn't leave a name saying yes, and if found guilty should be dealt with and to the point of dying due to no whether he talks about people dying due to no drugs, and yet they are having a good time.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for all of your responses. NTV poll will be back tomorrow with yet another question for our discussion.
All right, and that concludes NTV Tonight. Gabriel will be back with NTV Late Night. For now, from myself, Gabriel, and Joel, it's good night.
Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.
This is NTV.
In the club, in the palm, in the car, just living it up.
Born to Dorothy and Alex Achola on June the 3rd, 1987, our star profile today, Jocelyn Tracy Keko, grew up with a vision of becoming a force to reckon with in the music industry. Keko, whose name means early in the morning, is a Japadola Ugandan artist who comes from Tororo. Keko is the last born of 3 girls and schooled from Rockview Primary School, St. Noah and Maryhill High School before pursuing a Bachelor of Commerce at Makerere University. She's a Ugandan rapper who has taken over the music scene in Africa. Her rise to fame began in 2010 with the release of Fallen Heroes, which she appeared alongside other established Ugandan artists like Don MC, SP, Davis, and also the Mwamba Children Choir. Her breakthrough single, How We Do It, took the Ugandan charts and MTV Africa by storm, making her an instant household name in East Africa. Keko has released singles such as Akelo, Black, Hey Hey, How We Do It, and Alwo. She has also featured in the Air, Shades, Go Green, Hustler's Night, Fallen Heroes, and Kwekunya Remix, and has scooped the Buzz Teenies Award for Best Female and Best Upcoming Artist. She has performed at the annual Selam Festival in Ethiopia, Big Brother Africa 6, 2010 Palm Awards, Young Achievers Awards, World Music Day held at Alliance Francaise, Buzz Livers Rock, Uganda Youth Convention, and Forum for Women in Democracy, alongside hand-picked international artists from Uganda and around the world.
Move if you want to, shake if you want to, whatever. When we party, go nuts if you want to. The drinks are plenty, the chicks are ready. The music sounds hot, DJ rock steady, and vamping no steady, girl groove, no debating. Since we're merrymaking in the club already, got my feet two-stepping and my palms all sweaty. So the only thing missing is a pouring confetti. In the club, in the palm, in the car, just living it up.
Born to Dorothy and Alex Achola on June the 3rd, 1987, our star profile today, Jocelyn Tracy Keko, grew up with a vision of becoming a force to reckon with in the music industry. Keko, whose name means early in the morning, is a Japadola Ugandan artist who comes from Tororo. Keko is the last born of 3 girls and schooled from Rockview Primary School, St. Noah and Maryhill High School before pursuing a Bachelor of Commerce at Makerere University. She's a Ugandan rapper who has taken over the music scene in Africa. Her rise to fame began in 2010 with the release of Fallen Heroes, which she appeared alongside other established Ugandan artists like Don MC, SP, Davis, and also the Mwamba Children Choir. Her breakthrough single, How We Do It, took the Ugandan charts and MTV Africa by storm, making her an instant household name in East Africa. Keko has released singles such as Akelo, Black, Hey Hey, How We Do It, and Alwo. She has also featured in the Air, Shades, Go Green, Hustler's Night, Fallen Heroes, and Kwekunya Remix, and has scooped the Buzz Teenies Award for Best Female and Best Upcoming Artist. She has performed at the annual Selam Festival in Ethiopia, Big Brother Africa